Have you ever stopped to think about how the food you eat actually powers, well, everything? I mean, how it becomes the energy you use to think, to move, to even blink. Today, we're going to dive deep inside your cells and uncover this absolutely incredible process that keeps you going.
I mean, seriously, how does a sandwich become a thought? It sounds like some kind of weird philosophical riddle, right? But it's not. The answer is all about this tiny, incredibly powerful molecule. It's the bridge, the connector, between the food you eat and the energy your body needs to spend.
So let's meet the hero of our story, ATP. That stands for adenosine triphosphate. And this little molecule, it's the universal energy currency for like all life on Earth. Think of it this way. If your body is a giant economy, ATP is the cash. It's the dollar bill you have to spend to make literally anything happen. Okay, the easiest way to picture ATP is to think of it as a tiny rechargeable battery for your cells. That's it. When it's all charged up, it's holding on to that potential energy. And then, when a cell needs to do some work, it just spends one of these ATP batteries, that energy gets released, and boom, the job gets done. So what kind of jobs are we talking about here? Well, basically everything. Moving your muscles, right? That costs ATP. Sending nerve signals from your brain all the way to your fingertips? Yep, ATP. Building new proteins, repairing cells, even the constant steady beat of your heart, all of it is paid for in full with ATP. So the big question is, where do we get it? All right, our story starts with a single molecule of glucose, sugar from the food you eat. And the very first step in turning that sugar into usable energy is a process called glycolysis. You can think of it as the opening act of a three-part play. So glycolysis is actually pretty straightforward. It takes one glucose molecule and just splits it right in half. This all goes down in the cytoplasm, which is kind of the main goo of the cell, outside the specialized parts. You get two smaller molecules called pyruvate, and here's the really cool part. This step doesn't require any oxygen at all. It's an ancient, fundamental process that life has been using for a very, very long time.
Okay, so we've done some work, right? We split a molecule. The question is, what's the payoff? How many of those ATP batteries did we just manage to charge up? The answer? Just 2. Yeah, I know, not very impressive, is it? It's a tiny profit, but it's an absolutely critical start. It's just enough to get the ball rolling for the much bigger payoffs that are still to come.
Okay, so those two pyruvate molecules we just made, they're on the move. They travel into the cell's famous powerhouse, the mitochondria. And once they're inside, they enter stage 2 of our journey, a really complex series of reactions called the Krebs cycle. Now, the Krebs cycle is interesting because it's less about making a bunch of ATP directly and way more about prepping for the main event. It takes our pyruvate molecules and breaks them down even further, and in the process, it releases carbon dioxide. And yep, that is the exact same CO2 that you are exhaling right now. But its main job is to load up these special energy-carrying molecules. Think of them as delivery trucks, getting ready for the grand finale.
All right, so we've gone through this whole complex cycle. What's the bottom line? Do we get a better return on our investment this time around?
Nope. We get about 2 more ATP. That's it. So after 2 major stages, we're sitting at a grand total of 4 ATP. It feels like a lot of work for a pretty small reward, right? But trust me, don't worry, the main event is just about to kick off.
And here we go, we have arrived at the main stage. This is the real powerhouse of energy production, the electron transport chain. This is where all those energy carrier trucks from the Krebs cycle finally arrive to cash in their chips for a massive, massive jackpot.
So check out how this incredible biological machine works. First, those carrier molecules drop off their cargo, high-energy electrons. These electrons get passed down a line of proteins, kind of like a hot potato. As they move, their energy is used to pump ions across a membrane, building up a ton of pressure, just like water building up behind a dam. And then, finally, all those ions come rushing back through this amazing molecular turbine called ATP synthase. It literally spins, and that spinning motion generates ATP on an industrial scale. It's amazing. So, after all that buildup, after that incredible spinning machine goes to work, what's the grand total? What is the final massive energy payoff from this one step? Get ready for this. A staggering 32 to 34 ATP. Can you believe that? This one step produces way, way more energy than the first 2 steps put together. This is why we call the mitochondria the powerhouse of the cell. This is where the magic happens.
Okay, so let's step back for a second and look at the whole picture. Let's add up all the earnings from each stage of our single glucose molecule's journey.
So let's do the math. We got about 2 ATP from glycolysis, right? Another 2 from the Krebs cycle, and then, bam, the avalanche from the electron transport chain. It all adds up to a grand total of around 36 to 38 ATP, all from one single molecule of glucose.
And that brings us full circle, right back to the beginning. That one little sugar molecule from your breakfast this morning, it becomes something like 36 tiny, fully charged batteries, all ready to go, ready to power your cells to do whatever they need to do.
But here's where things get truly mind-boggling. Let's talk about scale. Your body, get this, your body recycles its own body weight in ATP every single day. The amount of work being done is it's unbelievable. The efficiency is off the charts.
And hey, remember that big finale, the electron transport chain? Well, there's one critical detail we need to talk about: oxygen. Oxygen is the final destination for all those electrons. It's what catches them at the very end of the line. Without oxygen, the whole assembly line just grinds to a halt. That massive ATP production just stops. That, my friends, is the direct cellular reason you have to breathe.
Oh, and think about this for a second. Even when you're just sitting there, doing nothing, your brain is an absolute energy hog. It uses about 20% of all the ATP your body makes. That's the price of thinking, the energy cost of consciousness itself.
So, to put it all in a nutshell, glycolysis starts the whole process with that first split. The Krebs cycle is the prep phase, getting all the carriers ready. And the electron transport chain, that's the grand finale that does all the heavy lifting.
In this whole process, this elegant and powerful chain of events, it's happening inside you right now, quadrillions of times, every single second, almost without a single error. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What happens when this perfectly tuned little energy machine breaks down?